Okay, so this is probably the most difficult video that I've made for a long time. Probably ever. Let's look at how we got here in the first place.
To catch you up, I put a video out saying that it made more financial sense to go to Japan and buy an RX7 than it did in my country and then driving it back to France, but then this happened. It blew up and I didn't expect that, so I thought maybe I should probably do it, so I did and started planning it, flew to Japan, found a car, and then look.
My new RX7. I can't believe I just said that. After buying the RX7, getting all the maintenance and stuff done in Japan, which I spent $6.5 grand on, everything was perfect. I had a new Apex ECU so I could control the fueling, I had all the bushes replaced, even the little door flap was replaced that always breaks on RX7s. But in order to make this road trip possible, I had to ship the car from Japan back to France. Yeah, of course, it makes no sense. Because I had to do the registration. Then it was being shipped back to Japan for the road trip, and all of my HKS sponsorship parts were being fitted at that point. But I got a phone call. A phone call that has changed this whole trip significantly, and the course of everything that I do quite significantly. And it was a phone call from Alex at Top Rank saying there's been an accident. One of the port workers, while taking the car off the boat, crashed it. Now, I've seen the report of what they said happened, and it doesn't look good for the driver. It states things like the tyres were screeching as the worker drove the car off the boat. The tyres were in excellent condition. I know this because obviously the full inspection was done on the car. I inspected the car in Japan before it left. It was absolutely perfect. So I can't really comment on what I believe the driver was doing or how he was acting, but I'll let you come to those conclusions. I was sent these pictures, however. Now, you can see that this is not good. It's gutting. The last time I saw this car was in Japan, and I was in disbelief that this car was mine. This great example of a car was mine. This is why this is such a painful video to make, and obviously the company will want to just close this case as quickly as possible and make this an insurance claim or just try and repair the vehicle. But the problem with this is that when you have a car like this, like an RX7, once it's damaged, it's never going to be worth the same amount as an asset value. And as a creator, being able to use that value, should I need to roll into another project, that's important to me too. And I would be significantly out of pocket for them repairing this car. Yeah. And I think the difficulty that I'm facing at the moment as well is that it's put everything on hold. All of my sponsorships, all of my trip to Japan, everything that I've spent time-wise as well. Like other things I do outside of here, I build software projects. I spent so much of my time dedicated to this that I didn't have the opportunity to push those things like I could have done, because I dedicated my time to trying to build my TikTok, my Instagram, and my socials around this trip, the Road to Rotary. All of that now can't be done. I won't be able to source a car in time. It had to be done next July because I was actually doing this with my son as soon as he left school. He was finished with Education Forever, and this was, like that coming of age road trip where we embarked on a father and son trip across the world in an RX7 and a K truck, because that's stuff that he'd be able to tell his kids, my grandkids, at some point. And now that isn't something that can happen. My future loss of earnings, my loss of sponsorship, my loss of all of my time and opportunity costs, because until this is settled, all my money is also tied up in that vehicle. I can't do anything else. I put everything into this car. And I think that that's the most difficult thing for me, is that when you commit your time and energy for 6 months of your life to putting on this road trip, this huge event, it's not just about buying a car, it's an event planning. And that is far more than just buying a car. It's way more than that. The effort it takes to not just find and source the equivalent car, like trying to find that car was pure luck. We took a huge gamble on that car because of the condition it was in. It was in such great condition, but there was certain things happened that were impossible to predict with the auction. They changed a few things which stopped people bidding, which happened to be just tiny things. It was like the size of the vehicle and stuff like that, which meant that we got something like the complete and utter fluke being able to buy the car that we did. So to try and replace that is arguably near on impossible. We've since tried to look to see if it's possible to find an equivalent car, but it's going to take months because they don't come up. It's really difficult to find one in that condition with that few mileage and just generally like that. Like I said, not to mention all the maintenance and work that went into making it absolutely perfect. So of course, I now have to try and decide what to do next. I'm looking at all of the different opportunities that could be presented from this. I'm trying to turn this into some level of positive, but at the same time, I'm not going to stand by and let the company try and get away with, like most events like this, where the victim, the person who has no say in how this happened in the first place, gets done. And they end up the ones that lose out through no fault of their own. I had no part to play in this. I am purely the victim in this whole situation. And if it was down to the company, I'm sure that they would try and pay the smallest amount possible for this car, which would mean I wouldn't be able to buy a replacement, or they would try and repair the car, which means that I'd be at a significant loss also, because the asset value of this car would now be 30% less than it was prior to being damaged. This was a very clean, original, well-maintained example. That has more significant value than a crash damaged, repaired car. For appreciation also, if you try and look at the appreciation of these things, the same, it won't appreciate in that same way. So like I said, I could either let them just rush this through the insurance, get taken, and not be able to fulfill this trip, or I can fight it and try and fight for every individual who has had this happen to them, and where companies have taken advantage of the individual because they are bigger and more powerful. So I'm just trying to bring more attention to my story, really. I think this is completely unjust in the way that it's happened. I hope that it doesn't happen to anyone else. I've had plenty of examples of where other people have experienced similar sorts of things, and again, been left out of pocket because the insurance just doesn't pay what is right for them as individuals. And I don't want that. I'm going to fight for my justice, my right, and because, not just because it's right, but because this is everything that I've put into this. Everything that I have committed to this car is so much more than a car. And I am determined to make that right by trying to fight this and fight for what is right. I appreciate everyone who has been following this journey, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it might be, or on here. It's a huge disappointment. It's a huge disappointment. So Again, appreciate you all being here. Appreciate any awareness that you guys can bring. Share my TikToks, things like that. It really does genuinely help to bring more attention to this subject. I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm not going to let it define this, and this won't be the last we hear of this. I'll try and keep you updated as much as I can. Thanks everyone again for watching. Not the video I wanted to put out. I'm still trying to edit the Arctic Trek video. That'll be coming out soon. Obviously this has thrown a spanner in all of my works to stop me doing a lot of the things that I should be doing, and again taking up a lot of my time when I should be doing other things. Hopefully the next video will be more positive and we can take this to them and truly fight for what is right. Appreciate every single one of you, and this isn't the end. Peace.